sleep in fear, wake up red. I'm the prophet spike in your fever dream, retells in your candlelight. You're everything down.
Brother, oh brother, oh brother. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Kohrs Show, where it is a beautiful Monday, June the 23rd, and I feel like it's been a hot minute since we've all been able to hang out, so I'm very, very happy to be back here. I hope you guys had a great weekend, kind of an extended weekend with the whole FOMC meeting going into a market holiday for Juneteenth, and then Friday, I know a lot of us took off, but it was kind of a crazy Friday because it was a triple, quadruple witching, end of the quarter type stuff. So obviously on top of that, then over the weekend, we had the craziness with Israel and Iran. So we have a lot. We have a lot to get into, folks. So much to get into. Obviously, as I already alluded to, last week was packed of crazy stuff. FOMC decision, they decided to not change the interest rate at all. And we also learned from the summary of economic projections, the SEP, that they will not most likely be doing it for a hot minute. Maybe we get a rate cut in September. Even that's kind of open to interpretation at this point. But definitely more of a hawkish tune than a dovish tune. So the markets didn't really like that too much on Wednesday. Then the market closed on Thursday in observation of Juneteenth. Fast forward to Friday, we did have OPEX. I get that the market popped early on Friday. Very obvious bearish day, though. We were talking about it quite a bit here in the Discord. It was also all over Twitter. One of the largest OPEXs we've ever had, as in just the amount of money that either was going to be expiring in the contracts or had to get rolled, just the pure size of the money in play. It was the largest OPEX on record. And if you looked at really what was in that OPEX, quite a bit of positive gamma, quite a bit of supportive Vanna and charm flows, really. And obviously, as of Friday, it expired, disappeared. Thanos snapped into the ether. And ask anyone in the Discord this, that was the major call out of like, this was the day to be bearish. Like without a doubt, it was a day to be bearish, just looking at the Vanna and charm structure. And eventually as that all disappeared, guess what happened in the market? It fell, bounced, fell, bounced, and then fell again. And then we just kind of settled into close. But very, very easy play to be bearish on Friday. And then that led us over to the weekend where, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you probably know that the U.S. Went through with some airstrikes on Iran, technically 3 separate nuclear enrichment facilities, and that caused some craziness. This was being telegraphed as an attack as early as Thursday. I mean, I remember I was even doom scrolling on Twitter/X, and I saw all this, the murmurs about it that, hey, they're waiting for the weekend so it doesn't impact the market in real time, and that's exactly what happened. Basically, the, I guess, airstrike, the attack, whatever you want to call it, was perfectly timed as far away from market action as possible, whether the market ended on Friday or really futures market open last night. The airstrike was done on Saturday evening. And as of right now, this is going to surprise a lot of you, but according to the futures market, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are slightly green, and then we have oil that is pretty much neutral. It was very, very green, calming down a little bit not too long ago. 10 minutes ago, it was actually in the red territory. So this is one of those reactions where a lot of people, especially in the retail scene, they get it so wrong. They're like, war, it has to be bad. It has to be red. Oil's going to spike. And like, yes, it can happen, but here's a real life example of sometimes trading on that emotion of just trading off all these headlines and getting all spun up about it. Not a good decision right now in real time. S&P 500 futures market is green. So is the NASDAQ, and the oil was very green, went red. Now it's slightly green, up about like 30 cents about roughly. You have at one point over the weekend, Bitcoin going from 105 down to 99, 98 right now, bouncing back up to 101. So as we always talk about on this show, time and time again, we are always being given these reminders of as soon as you're letting emotion lead the way on what you're doing in your active trades, really even your investments, it's not a good situation. And then we also are time and time again given this reminder of it's kind of useless to try to explain every single market action. I see this all of the time in the space of retail trading, that everyone wants an explanation for every little move. It doesn't matter if it's an hour bar, it doesn't matter if it's a one tick bar. People are always trying to explain, why is it going up? Why is it going down? And if you have an accurate explanation, okay, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. It's not like we're giving an answer key at the end of the day. What matters is price. So if we can properly explain, like I said, cool, awesome. It's a dinner party trick, if anything. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is price direction, price structure, what's going on with options. It doesn't matter the explanation of why it's happening. And I think in real time, we're being given a very sobering reminder of that, of if you not looking at the market were to be explained the situation of, hey man, we're looking World War III in the face, US bombed Iran, we don't know what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, or however you pronounce it, but basically where 20% of the oil supply is sent. Tensions are not good with Iran and Israel. They're continually sending missiles back at each other. China's pissed off, Russia's pissed off. Interpreting all of that, you'd be like, oh yeah, no, the market's vomiting. That, like, none of that's good news. And then you look at the market and surprise, it's in the green. So that's a very good explanation of, or a very good real-time example of, with a lot of this, just these conjectures that we make. And hey, I'm guilty of it as well. We hear a piece of news, we try to interpret it, and then half the time you're right, half the time you're wrong. So it just simply does not matter. At the end of the day, yes, we can do our best to try to interpret if the news will be good or not. We could try to explain it, but remember, whether you're making or losing money, it simply depends on price. Like, at the end of the day, that is the truth that we have to care about time and time again. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before we really get going today, because even though it's crazy, yes, we could have a horrible bearish sell-off today, but it's also not etched in stone. We could easily have a bullish bounce, and all of a sudden, if tensions simmer down and we rip, we could take out the previous high, and this might just be a final week of the month type of rally. That's also possible. None of these things are in that mutually exclusive world of either a 0 or 100%. We live in that gray area of 1 to 99, and probabilities simply increase and decrease. So as soon as you find yourself being maybe a little bit overconfident or over emotional on one side or the other, that might be a good time to take that step back. And remember that a lot of times this market is just going to be normally distributed. You have these 50-50 shots, and it is ideal that you're just always protecting your downside risk. I've never met a single successful long-term trader who isn't borderline paranoid about what their risk is at any point in any given situation. So as whatever you're day trading, scalp trading, swing trading, whatever you're doing today, maybe the first 9 questions you should ask yourself is, what is your risk, before you get to that 10th question of what is your potential reward. So what is this? U.S. assesses high risk of Iranian. What was this? We just got some sort of seemingly scary headline. U.S. assesses a high risk of Iranian retaliation against U.S. forces soon. U.S. will be pursuing a diplomatic resolution, according to 2 U.S. officials. An Iranian retaliation could come as soon as the next day or 2. So it's things like that here, I'll even show you the pre-market. Bounce, and then a little bit of a red bar off of literally the news I just read. So you never know when headlines are going to hit. More importantly than not knowing when headlines are going to hit, you don't know how the bots and other traders, whether it's hedge funds, retail traders, banks, insurance funds, you don't know how they're going to react to the news. So you don't know when news is coming out. You don't know how people are going to react to said news. So at the end of the day, it is most important just to pay attention, know your risk, know your reward, pay attention to the structure, pay attention to the key levels, and obviously react accordingly. Anyway, we were slightly green as I started this off. The Nasdaq just went red and the SPY is pretty much neutral. Here's the headline as of now for the state of the market. Stock futures are flat as traders monitor oil prices, Iran response to U.S. bombing. So if you missed it on Saturday night, we have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention on this matter. It is kind of interesting. You know that, what's that meme? The guy where he's like kind of standing there and then he looks back and then shoots at someone in the chair. He's like, how could you have done this? That's exactly how I felt about this True Social post of we bomb someone and they're like, now's the time for peace. Now's the time for peace. Little bit ironic, I suppose, if you ask me. Like I said, though, with all that over the weekend, we could probably see it best here. Let me show you on Bitcoin. Things at one point going crazy. As this was Sunday morning, drop. Even on that craziness on Saturday, you could see we took a bit of a hit, but clearly recovering ever since then, which is a fair question of why is there not more panic? Well, according to Dan Ives at Wedbush, the markets view the attack on Iran as a relief with nuclear threat now gone for the region. That might be the proper interpretation. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it is one of those situations where we're seeing a bit of a bounce. Another potential explanation might just be that the show of force might force really everyone to come to the table and get some sort of negotiation, as in we might just be closer to the end than we are to the beginning. That might be another possible reason. Israel seeks to wrap up the conflict with Iran soon, so that is potentially another explanation. But when all this was happening, there was a press conference Saturday evening. It was quite a bit longer than 3 minutes, but I thought that the Wall Street Journal captured the major things, so just want to quickly play this for all of you.
I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
We are now at a critical crossroads over whether this war is going to escalate and bring the United States into a war in the Middle East that could spread throughout the region. The big question now is, what will Iran do? Will they decide to expand this war by hitting U.S. assets in the region as they have threatened to do? Or will they back down, come to the table, and seek a diplomatic solution?
Intensifying music.
The United States sent B-2 bombers to the Middle East to drop what's called massive ordnance penetrators. These are enormous bombs that are capable of destroying underground
Massive
facilities.
ordnance penetrators. That's what they used to call me in college.
On a nuclear facility called Fordo, which is perhaps one of the most important in Iran because it's built into a mountain and it's very deep underground. Nobody can destroy this except the Americans. The United States also launched Tomahawk cruise missiles aimed from a submarine at 2 other nuclear facilities in Iran called Natanz and Isfahan. And together, this could be a lethal blow to Iran's nuclear program.
Ooh, now we're on to
America has
music.
been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is obviously thrilled about the United States' decision to get involved. It would have been very difficult for the Israelis to destroy Fordo without the United States' help. Iran is so far defiant. They say that all their efforts to come to the table have ended with military action, and so they don't see the point in diplomacy at this time.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
President Trump very much made it clear that he would like to see this as a one-off operation. He's ready to call it a day. He does not intend to escalate. He is not seeking regime change. He was helping the Israelis with this one operation. If the Iranians choose to retaliate against U.S. troops, then there are other targets that they could go for. There's obviously key infrastructure, there's oil refineries, There's a lot more damage that they could do to the regime, to undermine the regime. The moment here is, does this lead to an escalation, or is this the beginning of the end? And it could really go either way. Iran has so far been very defiant. Would they step up their attacks massively against Israelis? It's certainly possible that they could and that they will, but they can't go on forever, just as Israel can't go on forever intercepting all of Iran's missiles. So there is a bit of a game here where who's going to cry uncle first? Is it going to be the Israelis or the Iranians?
I actually thought that was a well done little quick breakdown there. And overall, the summary is we don't know which way this is going to break. If we're in the scenario where everyone's like, okay, cool, that's it, no more conflict, like you've proven your points, like let's just come to the table and negotiate. Yeah, I would expect markets to pop, and in early July, really late June, that's where we see bullish seasonality. So those two things could easily converge. On the other side, if there's too much ego in the room, this could easily break the other way, where if they keep sending bombs and everyone's like, all right, well, if you hit, we're going to hit back harder, then we're going to hit back harder, then we're going to hit back harder. And if that all aligns with all that supportive positive gamma and the Vanna and charm in the market disappearing on OPEX on Friday, well, there might not be much to catch it. Yes, the JP Morgan position on SPX is centered at 5,900, so that might offer a little bit of stability, at least a little bit of positive gamma. But if it were to snap that, it could keep falling and falling and falling. So right now, no one knows where this is going to go. No one is clairvoyant to the ability of knowing where this market is going with 100% certainty. This is always has been and always will be a game of unknowns. So it really comes back to you and your downside protection, especially when right now it is not quote unquote market forces really moving the market. If anything, I would argue it's just reactions to headlines. Trump says it's time for peace with Iran. It may not be up to him. Iran could escalate, dragging the U.S. deeper into battle, or it could focus on a war of attrition with Israel. We don't know folks, I don't know if you're in the know. I know I'm definitely not in the know. I have no clue whatsoever of what Iran is or is not going to do. I could tell you from just my extreme doom scrolling on Twitter that it seems like most Americans and really the rest of the world does not want us involved. There's not too many people. I get that there's like some hardcore right-leaning people who are very, very supportive of Trump, but even in the right-leaning base, I think a lot of people, they just don't want war. I think most people, when they view it, like when I say most, I'm saying if you were to poll Americans, I believe over 50% would say this is not our issue. We just got to take a step back. And the average person, I deeply, deeply believe this, does not want conflict. And I know that this is a very nuanced subject, and I know there's a lot of discussions back and forth, and of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but there literally has been polls done on this, that more than 50% of people in America, they just don't want conflict. They don't want us involved in another conflict in the Middle East, which has just been, nonstop for like hundreds of years, seemingly thousands of years. There's always conflict going on there. But regardless, yes, over the weekend, things got a little bit crazy. That's what the market's really going to be attempting to price in today, and we're already seeing in pre-market trading. But what's wild here, any retaliation by Iran against the U.S. will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So if Iran were to go the route of attacking the U.S. back rather than the war of attrition on the Israel, which is seemingly their two options right now, at least according to mainstream media, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Trump were to hit back like with 10x the amount of strength. So once again, this could happen at any second. As you even saw this morning when we started to turn ever so slightly in the market, a lot of it related to we're getting initial signs, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's clearly intel at one point that Iran in the next day or two might be clapping back. And then if they do, what is Trump going to do? So much of this is unknowns. So please plan accordingly. Obviously, a lot of this has been through the view of either the equities market or crypto, but you got to pay attention to oil as well. Oil prices cut gains as traders bet Iran retaliation won't disrupt supply. So that's what the market is pricing in right now. Here's a look at oil. Oil, when the futures market opened up at 6 p.m. last night, at one point trading above 78, closing out at 74, so up $4 in the futures market per contract. $1 is actually $1,000 move if you were trading it. So if you were long on oil, you opened up per contract up an additional 4K. Since then, you could see in really late night trading and early pre-market trading, lower highs, lower lows. So oil is coming down, and that's been perfectly aligned with actually the equities market popping a little bit, like recovering, opened up. Things were a little bit scary, but guess what? People got that upside gap fill. Will this type of short-term bullishness hold throughout the day? Well, I'll tell you a little bit better at 4 p.m. this evening. So with all of this, yes, there's been a big focus thus far on the U.S., Iran, and obviously Israel. But remember, there's other players involved in this that are not happy, and one of the biggest ones is China. China rips Trump's Iran attack in first comment since U.S. hit. Why China cares is because China gets a lot of its oil from Iran. Actually, so does the U.S. But right here, China getting really their energy supply from Iran. And on top of that, just trying to keep up their relations in the Middle East. China strongly condemns the U.S. strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, calling it a violation of the UN Charter and international law that exacerbates Middle East tensions. Actually, to the point that I believe even Iran now has officially sued the U.S. for bombing them, which I guess that's a interesting way to respond. But yeah, there's now like some sort of global case going on with it, that they said that these attacks were illegal. Here I was thinking that pretty much all extreme missile attacks were an illegal thing to do, but I guess they're trying to get the court of law involved in this one. But anyway, China not happy, and now this is getting to the point that it's somewhat reminiscent of what we had when Trump was about to leave the office the first time around, where he was actually kind of threatening removing Chinese companies from the U.S. stock market. That is once again getting traction. Chinese stocks and American exchanges head for a breakup. A delisting push adds to the unraveling of Wall Street's love affair with China Inc. So this is not the first time we've heard this, but think of your companies like Alibaba, think about JD.com, basically all these companies being headquartered in China. Like I said, on Trump's, right when he was getting out about the first time, there was a big, like this was, I remember for about 1 week, 1 month of my life, this was like the main thing to pay attention to, was around 275 China-based companies representing less than 2% of the capitalization on the New York Stock Exchange. But these 275, more than 80 delisted since 2019. So some of them did get chopped off. 275 potentially to go, and there's obviously not the biggest, most popular, but there's some popular ones, especially back when there was the EV craze and everyone was talking about EV, and it just so happened a lot of them were based in China. So this is another thing. So I just wanted to put this on your radar right now, because this particular narrative, you never know how big it might get. So I just want to throw that out there, that yes, the SEC, FINRA, the president, they do have the right to just completely cut all these off from the U.S. Stock Exchange, and no more ADRs, American Depository Receipts. So could be an interesting one. So that's the craziness that's really going to be moving the market this week. But I do want to remind you, we do have some important macroeconomic events going down this particular week. So here, let me go this week. Today, you're going to see that we have the PMI numbers coming out. Tomorrow, we have consumer confidence, and Fed Chair Powell will be testifying. On Wednesday, he'll be testifying again. On Thursday, we're going to be getting the GDP and the durable goods order. And then on Friday, we're going to be getting the PCE inflation report. So pretty much every single day of this week has important stuff going down every single day. And then I should add that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday also have bond auctions. I believe it's the 2-year, the 5-year, and the 7-year. Once again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So literally every single day of this week has major macroeconomic data drops, on top of the fact that we're looking World War III in the face. So yeah, every single day of this week, especially as an active trader, you got to be paying attention. Though we're not technically in earnings season, I just want to call out that tomorrow Carnival's reporting, and so is FedEx and BlackBerry. Wednesday, Micron. I know some of you are paying attention to that one. And then Thursday, we have Walgreens and Nike. We're not really technically in earnings season, but I just wanted to call these particular tickers out just in case you have an active position. And I know I hit you with a lot of information, but don't you worry. I give it away all for free in one little newsletter cheat sheet, macros.locals.com. It is 100% free to sign up, free to use. It's always been been free, always will be free. Basically, every single Sunday around 10 a.m., you get a breakdown of what's going on in the market. I give you the earnings calendar, and then I kind of highlight the ones that I think you might care most about. Then I give you all those major macroeconomic events, like I said, a little cheat sheet. And then I give you the seasonality of each individual trading day for the upcoming week. So, for example, today, Monday, June 23rd, over the past 27 years, the better part of 3 decades worth of data, it's about 50-50. The bulls are technically at 48, and that means the bears are at 52. Here's a look at the hypothetical equity curve you would have if you bought it open and sold at close on the S&P 500 futures market. You can see for the first 12 years of data, pretty much sideways. And then ever since then, a slight downturn. But 1 year it was really good, a positive pop, and then back down. So not the most seasonally impressive day we've ever seen. And I could also argue, does seasonality even matter on a day like today where we have craziness globally? But for the remainder of the week, Tuesday, a little bit more bullish. It was bearish, and then over the past, 15-ish years, a bit more bullish. You have Wednesday, that's a bit more bearish. You have Thursday, that's a little bit more bearish, and then Friday, effectively completely neutral. This is going to be a really strange week, not only because of the news, all the major macroeconomic events, but also because if you look at the spot gamma trace tool here, if you pay attention to what's going on with major gamma and all those good Greek levels, you're going to know that for June 30th, so not this Monday, but next Monday, a perfect week from today, JP Morgan has a massive collar position expiring, and it just so happens to be centered at 5,900. Actually, my head's blocking it, so let me hop up here. So this big purple/blue node at 5,900, that's definitely going to be offering a pinning-esque effect for price, and that does not expire until a week from today. So if you happen to be trading the overall market, if you're trading it to the downside and we go, if we hit that, it wouldn't be the craziest idea to take some of your profits there, because other than that, you might just be battling theta decay up until Monday when that position actually expires, and then they're forced to roll it out for another quarter. JP Morgan ends up doing this every single quarter. This is a very popular play for them. In fact, I could show you it right here. You could see this massive play at 5,900. So worthwhile to pay attention to. I'll remind you as we get closer to it, but you can see a bunch of positive gamma there. I don't think it should be surprising anyone. So if you need to know more about it, just quickly search it on Twitter or go to Google, just JP Morgan collar position, and you can find out where it's structured. And it seems like every single fiscal quarter, well, really, actually, calendar quarter. They don't really do it off the OPEX. They do it off like the actual calendar. They end up rolling it, and it does seem about 4 times a year. It becomes the talk of the town, and just doing this now and paying attention to it for multiple quarters in a row, I can tell you anecdotally that in that final week, it's just a bunch of pinning action, and the overall market really doesn't seem to move that much. Of course, this particular week, it easily could be an outlier, but I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar before that bell goes dingity, ding, ding, ding. And the other thing I should give you are the key levels of the day. So here's a quick look at the S&P 500, the actual index, SPX. As I always do, I mark out the previous high, low, and closing value. Those are important technical and psychological levels. Then I have this white box, which from a 0 DTE options perspective is the transition zone. Above it would be bullish, below it would be bearish, and within it would be choppy, that transition zone. And then the final thing on the chart right now are these yellow horizontal lines, which are the major open interest levels of the day. So basically the bull case is up here, the bear case is down here, chop within, and then as you're playing those cases accordingly, obviously the various targets would either be the previous pivot levels, psychological levels, or those major open interest levels. So feel free to write these down, feel free to screenshot it, feel free to use it, feel free to don't use it, but that's exactly what my trading plan for the day is going to be. And as we are about to hit market open, very quickly, I just want to give a special shout out to Public, who is today's show partner. If you're not on Public already, it is free to download. It is free to sign up. If you're an options trader or an aspiring options trader, this is the place to be. No commission fees, no per contract fees. It is the only brokerage that I know of in the entire planet that you earn a rebate for every single options contract you trade. So check it out, pinned to the top of chat and in the description of the video. And on that note, dingity, ding, ding, ding. The world's largest casino is now open. Best of luck to all. Play responsibly, and if not, have fun. All right. Whoa. All right, hang on one quick second. I was looking to check one thing out. Oh, and I only have a couple seconds to figure this one out. All right, I did not mess it up today as I have his... Oh, I'm not even showing you guys the proper screen. Hang on, I should put up Tesla on this just because it's gapping up with the robo-taxi stuff. You guys cannot see that, but you can see this. Okay, cool. As you can see, I have my 20 Apex accounts. I have my 10 take profits. All 20 out of 20 Apex, they are all funded. And out of my 10 take profits, you're going to see that 5 are funded and then 5 are evals. So, all right, first trade of the day, working out. That's not a bad start to the day. 3K locked in. Not a bad start whatsoever. Like I said, 20 Apex, 10 take profits, 25 of the 30 are funded, and just did a quick $100 trade right out of the gate, just riding the momentum of really this breakdown. So, hey, that's a good way to start a Monday. That's a very good way to start a Monday. Just a nice 3K ad giving us, okay, I like it. Whoa, you have Tesla actually breaking out on the daily here. Yeah. Tesla is potentially breaking out of this range, so just want to call that out. Tesla, there's myself included, a lot of excitement related to this robo-taxi. Obviously, it's going to take a couple of quarters to see the growth, the popularity, but this was, it's new, but it just was officially released in Austin yesterday, getting a lot of buzz, and you could even see that, the fact that Tesla's up 4% when the overall market is actually in the red. So obviously bucking the overall trend, and people are liking what they're seeing on old Tesla. All right, the SPY is at its closing value. The NASDAQ is actually breaking down. We're hitting the low value from Friday. IWM, not too much. Palantir's in the green and Tesla's in the green. Those are the two major green plays on my watch list. Oil is once again ticking back up. ASML's in the green. What do we have? Netflix is down 1%. Avago. So some clear green plays, specifically, all right, now I'm getting another alert on old Netflix, but Tesla's in the green, Palantir's in the green, ASML's in the green. MSTR is getting beaten up. We have BITX down 4.7%. I have puts on BITX, so that one should theoretically be paying well, but I've been on a bad trading streak lately, so I'm a little bit afraid to check my account, but let's see how this is looking today. Okay, it's been worse. Well, what the fuck? That's just back to break even now. I needed Bitcoin to get hit this hard just to be back to break even. Well, that's not fun. That's not fun whatsoever. All right, yeah, I have puts on this, a semiconductor play, the overall market, and also crypto. Those are my active swing plays. In terms of day trades, well, you already saw it. I did that trade right there. Made a quick 3K. And if I held it, it would have made even more. It would have made quite a bit more. I was in around 30, 35. Man, if I just held that, we took a dive right to that pre-market low. Jesus. This is, here's a quick look at the flow this morning. Here, let me reload that. We don't need this, or this. All right, how are we looking this morning? Here's the S&P 500 options flow. You can see out of the gate, puts are flat. People are selling their calls. So that's the drop in the delta on the Mag 7. If you don't know what delta is, just generically, it's thought to be a measure of the bullishness and or bearishness of the options market. The Mag 7, that old combination of Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla, popped for the first 2.5 minutes, the first 3 minutes, and now starting to kind of seemingly come back over. But remember, we only have 4 minutes worth of data, so this isn't really necessarily the end-all, be-all. But we are seeing out of the gate tech take a bit of a hit, and we do have some outliers, though, that are holding up pretty well, specifically Tesla and Palantir. Tesla going to be benefiting from the robo-taxi event. You have Palantir, really, obviously, we know that it is deeply intertwined with U.S. defense and data analytics. So as tensions get higher, and also just Palantir's become very quickly a retail favorite. So really no surprise there that so many people are still very, very bullish on Palantir. I'm not quite sure why ASML is up, especially with the rest of the semiconductor industry being in the red, but that is the other green thing on my watch list, excluding oil. So right now we have the NASDAQ battling it out at the low from Friday, while the SPY is battling it out at the closing value from Friday. So on a relative comparison, just intraday SPY relative to the Qs, the overall market is showing a bit more strength than the tech sector this morning, which is a bit interesting because the S&P 500 options flow actually looks worse than the tech options flow. Here's the NASDAQ. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's just give it some time to breathe to see if we are going to be bouncing off this closing value. I should point out to you here, I'll show you on the 1 minute, we are literally battling it out at not only the closing value on the S&P 500, but also the start of this transition zone. So this rough area between 5965 and 5970, definitely expecting some battles here today. Definitely expecting some battles. If the bulls have enough strength, I would expect to push back up into this transition zone, which, remember, the best way I could describe the price action within these zones is like kind of choppy and jagged. But if you were to be bullish, and hey, I'm not your mom, you could be bullish if you want, you could be bearish if you want. It's your money, it's not mine. My next logical target would be 6,000, which is about $2.50 higher in the SPY, so roughly 597 and some change. Now, if the bulls are not strong enough to keep it in this zone and we push up and this is a fake out breakout and then we break below 5970, the bottom of the transition zone, and go back in the red, obviously my next target would be somewhere between 5950 and 5953. That would obviously be Friday's low value and also this key open interest and psychological level of 5950. So basically bull target up here, bear target down here, and really I would just be waiting to see who seemingly is winning this battle right in the chop zone that we are currently at, and this is obviously all with respect to the overall market. Now, if you are trading that, like I said, shout out to today's stream's partner, Public. We've been partnered up with Public for almost 2 years now, and that's for good reason. In my humble opinion, this is the best brokerage. Why is it the best brokerage? Well, in my opinion, it's the best brokerage because I'm an active options trader, and this is the only brokerage that you earn a rebate for every single time you trade an options contract. Doesn't matter if you're buying or selling, doesn't matter if it's calls or puts, doesn't matter if it's single leg or multi-leg strategies, you are earning a rebate for every single option trade. And it is a tier system. So if you want to start out at a higher rebate tier, make sure to use that link pinned to the top of chat and in the description of the video. Once again, you're going to start out already earning more of a rebate by using that link. It is free to download. It is free to sign up. There are no commission fees. There are no per contract fees. On top of option trading, yes, they have equity trading. No, they do not engage in payment for order flow. They have bond trading, some of the best UI, UX for that. They have crypto trading. They have high yield accounts. They have retirement accounts. They have a lot going on. I think you're really going to like it. And really, there's no harm, no foul for you to at least test it out, try it out. I think you're going to love it as much as I personally do. Like I said, pinned to the top of chat and in the description of the video. Make sure you use that link because you're going to start out at that higher rebate tier. And obviously, a shout out to Public for being partnered up with us for not only this show, but literally for now almost 2 years. Loving the relationship. And we're getting a bit of a pop there in the SPY. The Tesla on the daily chart is battling it out on the really daily chart breakout. Obviously quite a bit of range bound action right here. We poked our head up for a second, taking a breather, but yes, obviously monitoring to see if there's any follow through. I'm seeing a bit more green now. Meta losing that battle at 700. I know we were watching that quite a bit last week on old Meta. Netflix break even on the day. Microsoft slightly red. Nvidia slightly red. Vago pinned to that key open interest level at 250. Right now, it's honestly anyone's game. Yes, this overall market is looking stronger than tech. Tech is still in the red, but coming up to the next battle, while we actually have maybe the S&P 500 is going to follow through. Maybe it wants to target all the way up here at 6,000. Here's a look at the options flow. It was flat. It dropped in till about 934. Since then, this is the delta flow on the SPY recovering. What is happening here is kind of interesting. No one's been touching puts on the S&P 500. The S&P 500 puts have been pretty flat. What we saw is out of the gate from 9:30 to about 9:33, we saw call selling. And then since then, people have been buying those calls back. And it's mainly dominated by 0 DTE calls. We're not seeing much of a differential in terms of longer dated calls or really puts. So puts are flat. No one's touching it. Calls did pop. And then looking at the Mag 7, pop, drop, flat, not really much overall movement. Once again, no one's touching puts. Calls were purchased, then they were sold, then they were purchased, and now they're being sold again. But the main similarity I'm seeing between the Mag 7 and the S&P 500 is at this point, no one is touching puts. We're just seeing the difference in what in the world is happening with calls. So we went from selling to buying. Tesla potentially putting in a lower high here. Pay attention to this recent low at 934, and also pay attention to at 9:45, we have some PMI numbers coming out. The S&P Global Services and Manufacturing PMI, that is coming out at 9:45. So we have about 4 minutes until that data drops. So 4 minutes until that data drops. So I'll be waiting for that. And really, I'm kind of happy with my first trade there. I mean, I wouldn't mind just like a nice, calm, cool, collected, easy type of a day. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get it. But I wouldn't mind things being a little bit more calm. And hey, maybe if there's no opportunity, maybe my one trade of the day, I'm not going to complain. 3K locked in just like that. No, like literally didn't even take a minute. I don't even know if that took 30 seconds. So let's just wait. Let's just wait for this next data drop. Like I said, we have about 30 minutes now. If you haven't already, I know it's an annoying reminder, but it really does help me out so much. If you guys could all take one quick second to smash that like button, it is completely free for you. But whether you are watching on Rumble or on YouTube, it really does help get this show promoted to more people. And it just continually grows the Goonie community, and it gets more like-minded degenerates in here. So if you haven't already, I would truly appreciate it. And obviously, if you're watching this and you like actively trading with the coolest community on the entire interwebs, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing, completely free, 100% free. So thank you for all of that. You guys, I know so many of you in here are day in, day out, hardcore supporters. So for me and the rest of really the Goonie team, truly, thank you. Whether you're here watching, hitting the like button, whether you're in the Discord, whether you sign up for things such as public, all of it really does mean the world to me. So just want to take a quick second to say thank you. And also, I just hope you guys had a phenomenal weekend. I hope your weekend was as good as it possibly could have been. I hope you had a bunch of fun. I hope it was everything you wanted it to be. Oh, dude, I do have a story to share with all of you, but can I share it in the time that we have left? All right, 2-minute story. 2-minute story. I was at a raffle. I was engaging in a raffle where you basically bought raffle tickets and there was a bunch of things that you could like bid on. And I put all of my tickets in one that was full of it was a basket of lottery tickets. That's where I put all of mine. And I thought, okay, let's increase the probabilities. And I just put all of my tickets in this basket that was full of lottery tickets. And the back of all my tickets said 25. And I was like, great, awesome. Awesome. I'm number 25. And it gets to, they're pulling all the raffle tickets for this particular one. I'm so excited. My brain is I felt like a winner. I felt like I was going to will this into existence. And they pulled the raffle ticket. And the lady looks at it and she says, 25, 25, 25, 25. And just like that, I was like, I literally willed this into existence. My dopamine just absolutely spiked. I was so ready. I was so excited. And what they've been doing, the whole time is they say the numbers like that. They look at their sheet of who bought the number and then they say the name. So here it goes. They say 25, 25. And as they're doing it, I'm ready for them to say Matt Kohrs. And just like that, you can go from such a high to such a low. They said a different name. Even though they pulled my number, the number that I rightfully purchased so many tickets for, they pulled that number. And I was I was that guy. I stood up, fucking fist pump into the air. I'm that guy. And then they said someone else's name. As you could imagine, I was quickly spiraling into a pit of despair. All of a sudden, the the world, which sounded so beautiful, which was so vibrantly colored, where I almost had a toddler-esque just bounce in my step. Now all of a sudden, I couldn't hear anything. Everything had a slight gray tone. All of a sudden, my love for life just completely disappeared. All just in those few seconds. And as I was probably at the rock bottom of my life trying to figure out what happened, I realized the person who sold me these tickets wrote 25 on all of mine, but I was actually number 24. I was the 24th person buying all of these tickets, and she, like, just an infant, made a mistake and put 25 on all of mine. So all of a sudden, all of the tickets I bought, I was helping the random guy that was behind me, because all of the ones I purchased, even though I was slot number 24, all of mine had 25 on it. So I just helped that lady. And it is beyond safe to say that I have a new nemesis. It is 100% safe to say that not just an enemy, I have a life nemesis. She stole that from me. She stole that opportunity. What's so upsetting about this whole thing is she stole potential. In my winnings was a basket of lottery tickets, an entire basket of potential. And that was stolen from me. Is there anything worse? Is there anything worse than just stolen potential? I don't know, folks. Just to go from those high highs to those low lows in such a short period of time. So I feel like I'm going through those 5 stages of grief, and I'm just getting stuck in anger. I don't know really what all the 5 stages are. I believe the final one is acceptance. I don't think I'm ever going to get there. I don't think I'm going to get there at all. But whatever in the trauma response, those 5 steps, whatever it is, I'm stuck in anger. I was doing the bargaining thing, the despair, like all of that. And I think I've now, just for the remainder of my life, going to be stuck in anger until I had to take this nemesis out. It's been a while since I've had a nemesis. It has. But we're back at it again. We are 100%. She's a sleeper cell. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't really have any information on this. But she could be a sleeper cell. We don't have any information that suggests she's not a sleeper cell. In fact, all of the things you might be able to point out that makes it seem unlikely that she's a sleeper cell, that would just mean that she's a really good sleeper cell because she's acting the part. So I think that's something we should look into. She might be a sleeper cell from just whatever we agree is the worst sleeper cell producing community out there. She's that one. Would you put this lady up there on the list with the boy from Bulgaria taking the buy button away? I'd say the magnitude is way worse with the raffle. Just saying. Yeah, no. I would say, I would say the details of the story prove that it is in fact way worse. It's one thing to take the buy button away from people on GameStop, which was worth maybe in totality, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. I don't think we could put a price on potential. You might be saying, but Matt, those were just gas station lotto tickets. And maybe you win 10K, 20K if you're absurdly lucky. But what you're not accounting for in that particular equation is this is beyond money. This was just do you know how I would have felt if I scratched that ticket off and I won even more money? You can't put a price on just all of that dopamine that would have been flooding into my system. You can't. And for that reason, I think it's evident. I don't think this is opinionated. I think this is pretty clear-cut information that this is, like I said, folks, it's rock bottom for me. I've had highs, I've had lows. You guys have seen me make a lot of money, lose a lot of money. We've had a lot of laughs. We've had a lot of cries. We've been through a lot together. But this type of tomfoolery, if you will, it's the start of the downfall of our civilization. If as a community we allow this silly goose behavior to persist, we're no better than the perpetrators themselves. We really aren't. And I know that you guys might be thinking to yourself that this is dramatic. In no way would this lead to the downfall of society. But I don't think I'm really I actually think I'm late to sounding the sirens. You guys think this might, yeah, I get it. You're like, that's dramatic, man. Blah, 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 blah. If anything, I would say it's dramatic that I didn't let you guys know on Saturday. I should have gone live right at the event and been like, this is what happened. I let this cook for a day and a half. Do you know how much damage could have been done to society in that time? I would argue the exact opposite, folks. I would argue the exact opposite. Makes you wonder what other raffle-based things. What is this email about, dude? I'm getting so many spam calls and emails. Like I said, ever since Saturday night, just rock bottom. Just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, you know? She scammed 25 other people already. Shake my head. Yeah. President Trump and Elon Musk have scheduled a call to talk tomorrow. Politico. Maybe. Tesla is near the exact midpoint of my iron condor. I could hit my profit target on today if it loses steam here. Yeah, you just need vol to die out a little bit. I mean, obviously, the theta is always going to be helping you. On a big scale, you're not wrong. I guess the problem is a bit bigger. You're thinking now, yeah, this is... Historians are going to write about Saturday. They will. In future generations, future civilizations, when they were pulling up the fossil record to realize what happened to our civilization, there's going to be some freaking crystallized USB, and after years of trying to figure out the technology, they're going to crack into it, and they're going to get a complete archive of data that suggest this was the turning period. They're going to say this was the high water mark of society. A lot of people thought the assassination of Franz Duke Ferdinand, or whatever the fuck that dude's name, was an important turning point that like set society and life on a certain path. This is bigger, folks. This is actually considerably larger. So I just want that out there. I don't want anyone to be taken off guard. What is the most money you've made in a day and lost in a day? Oh, I haven't made or lost 7 figures in a day, but I've made and lost on both sides of it multiple 6 figures in a day. But I think it's in the realm of $250,000. I don't think I've cracked 300K. I would have to double check on both sides. I think I've made and lost around 200-ish K as like the most extremes. A lot of the sizable losses per day related actually to AMC. So for various reasons, I've tried to block those times out of my memory. I put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of persistence to hit the bottle enough to get those memories out. And they're strong ones. They like to stick in there. I've done everything I can to just destroy those memories in my brain, just get those neurons out. And for whatever reason, they're just so strong. So I put in the work. I've consumed a lot of alcohol to get those memories out, and I've done damage on them. They're starting to get a little bit murky. Just like, is it there? Is it not there? Like, you kind of remember some of it, but is it real? Is it not real? Is it a nightmare? Was it reality? But some of them are still there. Some of those days are still there. Why can't the market go down? Well, theoretically, it could go down. Advice from chat has made Matt a lot of money. Oh, yeah. I would trust all of you guys. All of you in aggregate are my financial advisor. All of you in aggregate. Turn to drugs, dude. I've tried them all, and just these AMC memories. they're too strong. They're too persistent. I'd be dead at 20K. It scales with it. I mean, it's more of a percentage thing. At one point in my life, if I made or lost 20K, I would like lose my mind, whether I'd be the richest man ever or now lost all of my money. But as you make money, it just scales. It just becomes a proportionate thing, and you kind of get hard into it after a while. But if I started my trading career, like when I started it, if I made or lost 20K, like I said, I would either be the world's most wealthy man or I would now literally have no money. But that's just, I don't know. It changes. And then also the numbers that I'm talking about, just to, I guess, really flesh out this conversation. There's people in this world who per day, it's up or down multiple 6 figures, potentially even multiple 7 figures. So like to them, my numbers would be like nothing. They'd be like, oh, that was like kind of a neutral whatever day. Those were whatever you made or lost 20, 30K. Oh, those were just commissions. So like there's a lot of levels to this game. So I completely understand that, especially to even where I was at the start of my career, these numbers would sound nuts, like absolutely nuts. But like I said, you have to appreciate the other side where even though relative to where I was, these numbers sound nuts, there are people in real time in Wall Street right now who already this morning have made or lost a multitude of that. So there's very much levels to this game. Very, very much levels to this game. We're carefully watching commodity prices. That's the ECB. I divorced my first wife because she wanted to loan her friend's dad 10K. I said no, and she did it anyway. Well, I think more than the money is just the fact that she did something that, like, it's kind of weird. Like, I think there were, whether it's 10K or 5K or 100K, whether you go up or down, it's the exact same number. I think it's more of like that she went behind your back. But what do I know? I'm just the world's leading marriage counselor. 200K is poor people money. Walking change. Well, that's what happens when you've created the best social media website ever, Tom from MySpace. So not all of us were able to sell the first major social media company for $500 million and get away and leave when the leaving was good, and now become like a lifelong photographer who occasionally stops by the show. Did you work on your emoji trading strategy? No need to work on it because I've already perfected it. No need to work on it. Already pure perfection. QQQ 30-minute Orbo 524 to 528. Well, remember, just to like offer a little bit more insight, especially if you're just new to Orbo trading, it would be the exact high and the exact low of the first half hour. So like it's technically 528.16. And the low would be 524.16. So I'm sure whoever just said that, you know that, but just to clarify for maybe anyone who's new and you're like, well, hang on, what's this Orbo breakdown strategy? It's literally whatever time frame you could talk about, the 1 minute Orbo, the 5 minute Orbo, 10, 15, 30, whatever, 60 minute, whatever your time frame is, it's that first bar of the day. So we're about to be at the 30-minute Orbo. So from 9:30 to 10, you would mark out the high, you'd mark out the low, and that's the 30-minute Orbo. Like I said, you could do it with whatever time frame. It would just be that first bar of the day. So it might be from 9:30 to 9:31. That's the 1 minute Orbo. You could probably do the 30-second Orbo. You could do the whatever 2-hour Orbo. You could look at from 9:30 to 11:30. Like whatever it is, you're using that time frame adjusted from the start of the day, and you look at that first bar's high and low, and then you look out for the breakout and or breakdown. So for example, the 15-minute Orbo was all the way back here, and at exactly at 9:45 on the 16th minute of the day, we broke out on both actually the SPY and on the Qs. So bullish breakout on the 15-minute Orbo, and we are about 50 seconds away, 40 seconds away from knowing if we're going to get that breakout or breakdown on the 30-minute Orbo. It is the 30-minute Orbo, the statistics surrounding it are better than the 15-minute Orbo. As a person who's done quite a bit of research on really all Orbo breakouts and breakdowns, I would say that the 30-minute and the 1 hour, also referred to as the initial balance, are the most statistically interesting to consider. Just a lot of the other ones have 50-50 odds, while you start to see a clear edge in terms of momentum when you start talking about the 30-minute, and especially when you start talking about the first hour, which once again, the 60-minute Orbo, for whatever reason, it's also referred to as the initial balance. Sometimes people use the shorthand of IB initial balance. So actually, technically, we didn't get the, okay, now we just did. So literally on the very first minute after the 30-minute bar. Yeah. All right. So I believe housing data just dropped, and the market is obviously liking it. Some housing data just got out there, and we are pushing up to another positive gamma. Maybe we should be looking at this GEX tool. All right, we are starting to slowly but surely climb up to the top of the transition zone. Obviously, like I said, my bull target all the way up at 6,000. We're not that far away, but circling back to the Orbo breakout, yes, we did get the 30-minute Orbo breakout, literally the first minute, the 10 a.m. minute. Right here, we broke above the previous high, made a new intraday high. So both the 15-minute Orbo and the 30-minute Orbo broke to the upside, to the bullish side on both the SPY and the Qs. Now, there are statistically better times to play this and weaker times to play this. I have found that when the Orbo breakout is produced because of a news event, sometimes you take on more risk than you might be anticipating. So, for example, we got that breakout, the 30-minute Orbo breakout, but it was also aligned with, I believe it was existing housing sales or some housing. Yeah, existing home sales coming in slightly higher than anticipated. They expected 3.96 million, came in at 4.03 million. So that came out exactly at 10 a.m. and it was perfectly correlated with the pop in the market. Granted, it just gave some of it back, but overall, we did dip for the first 4 minutes of the day, and ever since then, higher highs and higher lows, being led higher by Tesla. Tesla, clearly the market reacting very, very well to the robo-taxi launch yesterday in Austin. And then also it's being reported this morning that I guess Trump and Elon are going to have a phone call and they're buddies again. So some various things happening. Not only is the market recovering, but you have Tesla popping. Fed's Bowman, progress on trade has lowered uncertainty over outlook. Current Middle East strife could pressure up commodity prices. Yeah, well, we're seeing that a little bit with crude. That is a long, strong trend there, my friends. Long and strong trend. Look at that. Huge pop right at 946 in the Mag 7. That delta really popped. And ever since then, there was some choppiness for maybe the first 12-ish minutes. But ever since then, the Mag 7 Delta, you are getting the double whammy. People are buying calls and they are selling puts. So at 2x the rate, your Delta is really rising. S&P 500, it's a little bit more choppy. But overall, I would say that thus far, the trend has been to the upside. My concern is that there's going to be a hardcore rejection right here at 6,000. There's going to be a lot of short-term players. We've seen this time and time again who are going to end up taking their profits right at this level. And hey, that's not that bad of a play because not long ago we were a good 35 points less. That's a nice trade out of the gate. If someone went long in this or on this breakout bar somewhere, I mean, it's ballsy, but it worked. Between 935 and 936, riding it all the way up. I would not be surprised if these short-term players would like to lock in their profits there. And on top of it, I'm sure if we were looking at a DOM, there's going to be a lot of sitting orders there before profit taking, maybe shorts entering the game, just playing that rejection. And it makes sense. I mean, hell, it's just minimal risk. If it keeps going, they cut it quickly. Or if that's the top of the day, they get to ride it all the way back down. So just from a risk reward perspective, it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to be locking in bullish profits there and maybe starting a new bearish position. So it's just a game of risk reward. With respect to momentum, the 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute, and 4-hour. The 4-hour is actually now going bullish. 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute, 4-hour also now going bullish on the Nasdaq. So across the board in the short and medium term, it's more obvious in the short term, that's really bullish. Medium term was bearish, potentially trying to fight bullish. So I'll be watching that closely. I'll be watching that very closely. But as of right now, I think the next key level, I think a lot of people who've been around the block once or twice would say, yeah, we're going in for 6,000, expect the rejection. And then from there, just we're waiting to see where is the next low. Is the next low higher than the previous low that was established at 957, 958? You could also watch 950, 951. So we have this low and this low to kind of battle with. When we get rejected here, which is not a guarantee, but I would argue that it's higher odds than not that we do have a rejection just from simple profit taking in new bearish positions. But somewhere in this zone, if we get rejected, which is the big if, I do believe it is more likely than not, how deep do we pull back? Do we pull back below these previous lows, or is it somewhere above and we keep with the overall trend of higher highs, higher lows? And obviously in real time, we'll be able to monitor that by just seeing what in the world is going on with option flow, which looks crazy bullish right now. Like, holy shit, that is bullish. Look at the Mag 7. This is just ripping. This is just ripping right now. The SPY, that's looking good too. Holy crap. This is very quickly becoming a runaway day. Very quickly. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Look at it. It's just pumping. Well, all right. I am fully expecting a rejection here, at least on the first attempt. Like I said, it's not a guarantee. Nothing in the markets is a guarantee. But in terms of the high odds path, like the most likely pathway, the most likely pathway would be on this first attempt right here, which we're seeing in real time, some form of smack. And what I care about is the size of the smack. Is it small? Is there still enough demand that we just come in only a little bit? Or is it actually a little bit more sizable? That's what I kind of personally watching right now. And in the offhanded chance that we just keep going, well, yeah, that would represent quite a bit of bullishness, and I'd just be watching the high from Friday, around 6,018-ish. But like I said, I don't think that that's the high probability pathway by any means. By any means. Look at that pump. The market had to sleep off a little of the weekend hangover, but it only took 4 minutes, and ever since then, we have just been popping. Popping, just really being led higher by Tesla. Tesla has no chill. It is up 7.5%. 7.5%. That thing is cruising. Obviously, the next level would be 350 flat. Man, congrats to the Tesla team for apparently crushing that robotaxi event. Crushing that robotaxi event. Wow. That is insane. Absolutely insane. All right, let me get this going. A little bit of all right, we have a little lo-fi going back there. All right, cool. Something to keep us all calm so we don't freak out. All right, like I said, I'm still fully expecting this to not break on the first attempt. Of course it could. I don't know what the next bar is going to be, but just seeing this time and time again in a large data set, when you come to key levels like this, it rarely gets the continuation on the very first attempt. So I'd be waiting to see the pullback. I want to see how deep the pullback is. If it's somewhat deep, yeah, I would then take a bullish position, ride it back up. If it's too deep, then I might be worried that this is a legit rejection and we're coming all the way back down. So that's why I care about the size. And if it's too shallow, well, from there, it's still not a good risk-reward opportunity. So I don't really care the most about it. So paying attention to the size of it. Paying attention to the size. Fed's Bowman would support a cut in July if inflation remains subdued. So that was Bowman. Bowman is speaking right now. Fed Bowman's full speech. Okay, that seems a bit boring. Current Middle East strife could pressure up commodities. Well, we knew that, obviously. All right, let's see how this bottle actually goes. So SPY having a decent recovery relative to Friday, but like I said, the bell of the ball is in fact Tesla up 7.5% and seemingly not looking back. Tesla having a phenomenal day on the daily chart, getting a nice consolidation breakout, and 350 is going to have quite a bit of open interest. And then from there, the next technical high would be around 367. It is what we saw in late May. Obviously, if you're taking advantage of it, I don't necessarily know if I would support you chasing at the high of the day. Maybe you caught this breakout around the 940-ish mark on this higher low. I do like that. Maybe you were already swinging it from over the weekend. That's also cool. But I'm just never going to be that supportive or really ever supportive of a breakout continuation. So, or buying on the breakout. You're just by definition taking on the most risk. So if you do it, I hope it continues for you. But it only takes one bad beat for you to basically give back all of your money if you're continually chasing breakouts. And the same can be said about breakdowns. Going long at the extreme or going short at the extreme, obviously long at the high or short at the low, you're playing a very, very dangerous game. All right, this is the exact knock that I was talking about. Oh, let's see.
Submitted.
Hang on. Doing a little bit of a manual trade here. I'm not swinging for the fences. I don't want to get in the way of this particular steamroller because I'm literally just playing a little bit of a pullback here. Nothing crazy. And that's what's fun about futures is it's so highly levered that a little bit of a movement can make you quite a bit of money. So I'm literally just playing, okay, it went up to a key level, potential rejection, and I'm playing that. And guess what? If I'm wrong, cool. My stop's right there. Like it's nothing too crazy. Well-defined risk, actually, speaking of that. Ooh, and it was right below 22,000. What am I in at? How do I want to play this? I might be able to be a little bit more creative with this particular play. So it looks like I am short around 69, 21,969. Where's the 10-minute bar? 10-minute bar is all the way back down to 25. So 25, 60, 70, 20. Actually, hang on, let me... 945 points, 46 points, 69, 23 would be my max. All right, this is the max I could go for. I just want to mark that out just so I don't get like overly greedy. But really what I care about is the risk management. So if we can just crack this a little bit of technical support right here at 52-ish, then I'll just be moving my stop to break even, and then it's a freebie play. An absolute freebie of a play. Do I want to keep it here at 95? I moved it to 95 because it's just this technical high, but there might be a little bit of a psychology magnet here at 22,000. A little bit of a psychology. So do I want to put it on just the other side? But I'm short at 70, 30 points. That's $600. 30 points. Because if it breaks and runs, but what if it fails earlier? If it fails earlier, I could always re-enter. One of the other beauties of trading futures is there's no pattern day trading, so you could trade as much as you want. Okay. This is that higher low that would actually suggest the bulls are not just in control, but they are firmly in control. Little double bottom right here. Yeah, you could see. So I just put on the local highs and local lows indicator, and you could just see the highs and lows are just getting higher. Both of them are. When your highs are getting higher and your lows are getting higher, by definition, that is a bullish trend. Higher highs, higher lows, obviously. Like, I don't think anyone in here would necessarily disagree with that. I was hoping for a bit more of a pullback, roughly to the 10 a.m., just the start of the hour. But I guess we're not even going that much of a distance. Let's see what happens at 6,000 here. Let's see what happens at 6,000. How are the buyers and sellers going to play? We're back at this level. Let's see. Do we take out this high, or are we putting in a lower high and then we take out this recent low? Only time will tell. Mag 7 flow started still bullish, but taking a breather ever since 10:08. S&P 500 taking a breather ever since 10:07. I guess I should have stated this, but this was part of my reasoning for taking that fading play is I saw that the delta started to chill. See how price went higher, but the delta did not make a fresh high. Bit of a divergence between price and the options flow itself, which gave me a little bit more confidence in this, like the fade play, just because right here, look at this. Price is still going, but options are not following suit. The options market is objectively not as bullish as it was, even though price is roughly the same level. So a little bit of a mismatch there, which maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I have no clue. All I can tell you is I have well-defined risk. And if you do well-defined risk time and time and time again, keeping your risk in control and you're just sticking to your plan, being disciplined, that's how you could be profitable in the long term. On any given trade, I assume I'm going to be wrong, which is why I'm so protective of my downside risk. Juicy asking the most important question. Thoughts on Meta. Meta losing 700. That was a key options battle, a very important gamma level that it lost. So as of right now, I kind of view it as 700 not just being an important psychological level, but a very, very, very important options level. So because of that, above 700, great, bulls are in control. Below it, I'm just kind of waiting for that opportunity. I don't want to bet against it because the overall momentum of Meta, but I want it to kind of prove it to me that I either should or shouldn't be involved. So I'm invested in Meta in my long-term account, but for me to do a bullish trade on it, short-term, whatever, swing trade, something like that, I want to see the bulls win the 700 battle is really what I'm looking for. Tesla's looking phenomenal. I wonder where the market would be at today if Tesla weren't ripping 7.3%. This has to be Tesla's positive bullish movement has to be a clear percentage of the overall SPY and Qs going up. Okay, I need to be a bit careful here because this might just be a bull flag, and if there's enough retail traders and whatever bots and stuff that pile into this bull flag breakout, I might be getting screwed. So I just need to pay attention to this. Obviously, pump, 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 and now we have lower highs, higher lows. This is, on the 1 minute at least, almost a perfect bull flag. I don't necessarily want to be in the way of this steamroller if it goes. I might bail early even before my risk is hit if this structure does seemingly break out, which it's testing right now on both the SPY and the Qs. But what's weird is the delta flow is not following through on the S&P 500. Mag 7 is picking up a bit. The Nasdaq is also flat. So, I mean, obviously, at any given moment, a trader could splash the pot and get a breakout. But statistically, it would be as fair to say, well, at any given moment, they could also get the breakdown. Oh. Well, there's that breakout. Fuck. Why did this not cut? Rut row. Not quite hit. It's getting real close, though. I didn't move it to that line. I should have. Obviously, I wish I did. But by the time I was explaining it and really thinking about it, the move had already happened. Oh, this is going to goose me. Is this going to really goose me that much? We're going to go from a nice positive Monday to very quickly a negative Monday. Kind of my fault, though. I think my thesis was somewhat good when I saw the Mag 7 dropping and the SPY dropping, but it just so happens that right now at 10:20, we are picking back up, and I did not switch teams. There could be a nice play all the way up to the high from Friday. SPX currently at 6,004. The high from Friday is 6,018. Okay, so clear divergence still between price and options flow on the S&P 500. That's not so good for the bulls for a follow through right here. Price has gone higher, but options flow hasn't. But on the other side of the argument, you have Mag 7, which price has gone higher, and we have these same highs. Oh, that's interesting. I was about to bail, but noticing that, I might have a shot. I might have a bit of a baby shot here. Huh. Why is there so much divergence? Or did it just pull back for an even larger leg? I mean, look at that. It's just getting so... We pop, we drop, we pop. Interesting. Yeah. Clear breakout right there. Will it hold? Tesla's still looking great. Seems like it really does want to tag. What would that be? 350. 350. Ooh, do I want to get the hell out of this? Do I want to get the hell lucky am I going to be today? Really, I have my risk. It's more of, do I just want to cut it early? Do I want to cut it early? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe yes, maybe no. She's gone. Well, it's easy to say that at intraday highs, but at a certain point, you put the high in and you retreat from it. So that's probably not a good framework to attack the market with. Buying at extremes, like going long at the high and going short at the low. Of course, you could theoretically get lucky, and you probably statistically will a lot of a continuation, but you got to think about it as a series of trades. And eventually, if you keep trading that way, if you keep going long at the high and keep going short at the low, eventually you're going to top ticket or bottom ticket in the wrong direction and give back all of those gains you have anyway. So in an individual trade basis, it could work out for you and probably will quite often. But as a system, it's probably not going to be a net profitable system. Okay, which way is this going to break? The Mag 7, new Delta high, new price high. S&P 500, new price high, but Delta has not made a new high. We kind of double topped on calls here. Showing a little bit of a double toppy. What time is it? Around 10:22. Oh, if there is an intraday reversal, it's between 10:30 and 11 that it is most common. Obviously, I'm not saying that as a guarantee, but when you have that full-on intraday reversal, it does commonly happen between 10:30 and 11. That half-hour chunk of the day is the most common for intraday reversals. Avago's, so this is kind of weird. Avago's getting hit, but Tesla's ripping. Palantir's also putting in a pretty good day. 2.3% gain. Nvidia break even. Are we coming back to this trend line test? Is someone front running? Front running what? People are trading. What would they be front running? Toyota doesn't bother spending the millions of dollars changing stuff like that. I agree with them. Is it good for I don't know what you guys are talking about with Toyota. Yeah, Tesla is looking crazy. It officially did hit 350. So that's a big psychological level. It's actually a big open interest level, but the next technical high is basically 368, the high 367s from this trading session on Thursday, May the 29th. Oh, this might just be another higher low that we just got on the SPY and on the Qs. Let's see who wins this battle. The Mag 7 is non-stop climbing. But see, this is why I'm so confused today, because the SPY is actually getting hit. We are not as nice as price seems right now with respect to the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. The underlying data that we are getting is telling a different story. This, even though price is hanging out at the intraday high, right above a key level of 6,000, I'm showing you. Look at this. People are buying puts here and they are selling their calls, which is pretty much the only reason I haven't cut my short position, because the options market, at least as of this current set of data, they are losing faith in this pump. I mean, you could see it, like clearly losing faith. Is the same? But see, the Mag 7's so strong. So who's right? And the Nasdaq is strong. So Nasdaq is crazy strong. Mag 7 is crazy strong. S&P 500 is now actually breaking bearish. Like it's making new delta lows. Something is mismatched here. Matt, were you impressed with the robo-taxi rollout? Yeah, hell yeah. The amount of like work that had to be done to make that, like, I think it's just like a true feat of technology, a true like marvel. And obviously the market agrees. All right, let's drop this to the 3 minute. Let's drop this to the 3 minute. Let's drop this. Let's drop this. All right, Tesla has no chill. Breakout continuation, just ripping like a monster. Ripping like a monster. We all know it's going to keep going up. Well, it's that exact mindset that gets people to lose a lot of money. So I would highly recommend coming from a person who's thought like that and had that confidence in the market. No, it doesn't need to keep going up. And if you shrunk